Call this meeting to order. Today is June 6, 2023. It is now 7 p.m. I'll ask Councilman Hutto to give our opening prayer.
Let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, Lord, we come before you at this hour asking for your grace and your mercy. Lord, we ask that you be in this meeting, be in our hearts and in our minds. Guide our tongue that we say and do those things that please in your sight, that we seek to do the business of the people of this town. Lord, we ask that when we've done what you have assigned our hands to do here, that you give us safe passage back to our homes. These and all other blessings we ask in your name, we pray. Amen. Amen. Join me in a salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So you have a copy of tonight's agenda. Are there any changes that need to be made at this time? Hearing none, need a motion to approve.
Motion. Second.
Do I have a second? Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, in favor, raise your right hand. Now, next on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from the May 2nd, 2023 council meeting and the May 30th special call meeting. Are there any changes that need to be made to those minutes? Hearing none, need a motion to approve.
Motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Next on the agenda is persons appearing before council. Who do we have signed up?
No one at this time, Mayor.
No one. We'll hold the floor open for 30 seconds unless somebody wants to come forward. You've got another 15 seconds. Last call. All right, we'll move on to old business. PDRTA funding request, Mr. Sly.
So, since the last meeting, PDRTA has sent us a collaborative agreement that they would like us to join in with them. They're asking for a subsidy of $10,000 payable in 2 invoices. And the commitment is for support of over $200,000 in federal dollars. And this is looks to be a 3-year commitment is what they're asking for. So $10,000 a year for 3 years for them to be able to provide transportation services in Pageland.
And right now they're looking for an obligation or commitment.
That's my understanding.
This will not be until our 2024 funding period.
That is correct. The agreement starts January 1st, 2024 if we decide to agree to
So
it.
we can actually budget for this in future fiscal periods.
And we don't have to make a decision tonight. This come in the email about 2 weeks ago. I wanted to go ahead and I'll make y'all aware of it and what their request was of the town.
Any questions, comments from council? You want to hold this to our next council meeting in July, or do you want to go ahead and take action on it now?
Let's hold on to it and see what's their schedule, what kind of schedule will they be running around town?
I don't.
They really haven't sent that to us.
Well, there's a copy of that agreement in your packet there. It says at least 8 hours of new weekday public fixed route service in Pageland connecting patients, employees, students, and shoppers. The PDRTA will be responsible for aspects of service compliance with all federal and state regulations. Connecting service from Jefferson, Mount Croghan, Ruby, Chesterfield, McBee, and Sherrall. 2 ADA accessible buses equipped with lifts, bike racks, camera systems, and operators, and then free fare throughout the county.
Is that what council wants to do, is go ahead and take it for now and take it to the July council meeting? Y'all fine with that? Need a motion to table the PDR TA funding request until July.
Motion.
Got a motion? Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Next on the agenda, under new business, festival needs, Mr. Sly.
All right, Tim, you can go ahead. The chamber has given us a request. Y'all should have a copy of that, of what they would, they're asking for the festival as it approaches next month.
It's basically the same as it's been, right?
Well, one addition, on number 12. We got our insurance price from Brandon Price Agency, who has been doing our insurance for the past 5 years. And it has gone up to $3,000 for this year, so we would like to request, because it's always been pay half and then pay for your float, which would bring it right in the $2,000 range. That's the only change. Everything else is identical to what we've done for the past 5 years, with the exception of the year we attempted to, sold beer.
What was the insurance?
$1,000 each. It was right, well, it was $2,200 and we paid 12 and town paid $1,000 last year. Because that's what we had asked for, so.
Last year, I think, was a little bit lower.
Lower because
but-
they had it combined,
Yeah.
but they feel, Brandon says, he does not feel that that is adequate coverage that we need. And we have added some events. We have a 3-point and a slam dunk contest this year, which is going to be kind of nice. And it's not covered, we don't have to have the insurance on it, but there is going to be a Pageland, a watermelon festival race out at the drag strip this year. So we're trying to add something new every year, and that's our 2 new events. But Tonita Austin is going to be holding a slam dunk and 3-point tournament at the community center. So, but everything else remains identical. We haven't changed anything on it.
How much the increase in the insurance?
The insurance was increased by $1,000. We're asking for the town to split that.
What
And
we
this is
had,
a $2 million.
what we had been paying prior to last year was $1,000. And so this year, he's asking for 15. Last year, we got a little break, but what he was saying, Brandon feels like this, the way they'd done it last year was not adequate for coverage.
So we want to make sure that we have the $2 million coverage with the town as assigned.
With item number 10,
Yes, sir.
I would say I'm fine with it as long as it stays away from where the kids are.
Absolutely none in the carnival.
Because it
rides.
just says
Right.
festival footprint.
But we do have a sign up at the carnival ride that says, you know,
I think we need to make sure we include that, if we approve this, that we say that it's not to be around the carnival
Right.
rides at all.
100% agree.
What was that item?
Okay, item 10, if you put waive drinking ordinance for the festival with the exception of the carnival ride area.
Okay.
Anywhere where kids.
That way Kelly could put it in her minutes. That's why I was asking.
All right.
How much is the float that you said that we paid?
The floats are 500, and that is our cost. And we always get the red, white, and blue patriotic one for council. Sherry picks out the floats.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
So if everybody drove their own car, then you could eliminate $500.
Good. I think I'm fine with this, except with the exception of number 10. I think we could just make sure we don't have alcohol in the kids, and I'm fine with it. Y'all fine with that? That change? Y'all good with that?
So for the minutes, and it would read if, no alcohol on North Pearl, is that what the way it should read?
I don't see
Okay.
anywhere with kids, but are you gonna have any entertainment on the North Pearl?
No, North Pearl is, yeah, that's gonna be down at the park. The only place that's gonna be like the family zone is North Pearl.
Okay.
So we will make sure that there is no alcohol permitted on North Pearl.
Any other questions, comments before we move on? Okay, thanks, sir. Need a motion to approve the Watermelon Festival request with one change of, from item 10, waiving drinking ordinance for festival footprint. And that will be with the exception to the kids zone, which is on North Pearl. That's all the change that we made to this document. So need a motion for this request. Got a motion?
Second.
Second, any further discussion? Here and now, in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Let's see. Next on the agenda is the grievance committee appointment. Excuse me. Whoa. Mr. Slot.
All right, so the grievance committee, due to, just people leaving and at the time, we're a couple members short. Currently, Public Works has no representation on the grievance committee. I've had conversation with Stuart. We're making a proposal that, that you appoint Jermaine Spears and Devontae Ratliff to the grievance committee, just so we have a full committee like we're supposed to have, so if we were to need it at some point.
Said Jermaine Spears and who was the
Devontae Ratliff.
Any questions, comments regarding this request?
What I needed was two.
Yeah, that actually puts us at a 6-person committee, but the chair of that committee can step aside unless, there shouldn't be no kind of split unless somebody was out or either it was in their department and you'd had to have, typically if, just for context, say if it was in the Public Works Department that there was a grievance, Public Works members would step out of the meeting. They wouldn't attend, or would recuse themselves from having any conversation with that, and it would be on the remaining members.
Any questions, comments? All right, need a motion from council to appoint Jermaine Spears and Devontae Ratliff to the grievance committee for Public Works. Got a motion?
Second.
Got a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, in favor, raise your right hand. Now, next on the agenda is airport committee appointment. And this is to replace Dean Grant. Mr. Sly.
All right, the mayor reached out to me and told me Mr. Grant no longer wished to be on the airport committee. Did you have somebody that was interested
Yes.
that you would talk
I've
to?
spoken to Jordan Setting, and he said he would serve.
Jordan does attend the airport committee meetings currently. He is normally at all of them.
He's very active out there at the airport. He has a pilot's license, and I assume he's got a helicopter license too. He's flying helicopters and things, so. Any questions, comments regarding this individual? There are none. Need a motion to approve Jordan Setting to replace Dean Grant for the airport committee.
I'll make it.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a second. Any further discussion? Being all in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Next is the downtown landscape, Mr. Slack.
All right, hold on, there we go. Downtown landscape, the mayor has looked at some other places and, he would like to see a little bit of greenery in downtown, and so he asked me about putting this on the agenda. You know, we had discussed putting, on all those planters, taking and, putting the pavers down in those, but he wanted, some discussion on maybe some greenery, not necessarily fill every one of them up with greenery, but,
Yeah, I'm gonna say this, I've just been to several places here lately, Lancaster, we had a board meeting down in Aiken, been to Hartsville for their farmers market. All of them have a common thing, and that's trees downtown, and it's something that we don't have right now. Now granted, crepe myrtles were not probably the best thing we could have put in downtown. And I'm not saying we gotta put them in every one of the places where we had trees before, but we need some kind of trees. Yeah, and so my recommendation is to send it back to the Garden Club and possibly the Beautification Committee and see if they'll come up with recommendations for trees that we can have for downtown that are, you know, that will be easy to maintain, that are not gonna make a mess on our sidewalks, that are not gonna be making a mess. Zeb Jordan, I ran in his store one day and talked to him, and we couldn't carry on a conversation because when I opened the door, there was crepe myrtle leaves that just rushed into his store, and he said, common thing, happens all the time, so maybe we can get some trees that are downtown that'll be evergreen, that'll look nice.
And avoid the almonds.
Yeah, that's what we want. Either avoid the awnings or be a tree that's not gonna create a mess on the awnings.
Because I think that was the reason.
and Mayor, would you want to just limit to a tree, or would you like some short bushes? I mean, because you can get some small trees, but you can also get some short bushes that aren't.
I guess the one thing I saw with them is they all, with the exception of Chesterfield, I was in Chesterfield when I went to watch their playoff game, they've got hollies, I think, downtown. Wadesboro has a holly, but it's almost like a tree.
Yeah.
that They have, so,
Can I have some input here also?
yeah.
I think you actually need to check with DOT on trees that are approved.
Oh, yes.
For
Oh,
those
yes.
reasons, so probably would be best just to start with them and say, what do y'all approve of, and then go from there.
Yeah. Just seeing the common thing with trees, is a lot of them use live oaks. There's another one, I think, is probably Zachovas. Zachovas, those are, they got them, Aiken's got them, Lancaster's got them. So I want to have some greenery downtown. We look desolate right now, so.
Mayor, the European hornbeam we talked about too,
Yeah,
call them up right time.
that's right. But anyway, if y'all find that, we would make one. I want to send it to the committee and to the Garden Club, they can meet on that. Well, that's case, only need a motion from council to send a request to the Garden Club and to Beautification to recommend trees or some kind of tree greenery for downtown. And then make those recommendations back to us and give us a couple options. I need a motion for that. Got a motion? Second? Any further discussion? You know, favor, raise your right hand. Next on the agenda is the town benches, Mr. Slide.
Yes, I got the letter. Yeah, hang tight, I'm trying to, here we go. All right, here's a copy of the letter, Tim. And I got pictures up here.
Pictures are up there?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Mayor, council, administrator. There's currently the benches that was begun, that we're to address the benches that are at this time being painted. Some of them have been painted to add more art and color to the downtown for visitors and tourism purposes. First, I'd like to apologize for overstepping, and we understand the permission to paint the benches should have been granted prior to the start of the project, but the project is at completion with the exception of one bench. If you have not seen the benches, I have provided pictures of 3 of them. These 2 were painted by the art department at Central High School. The one on the left was painted by Jamie Barfield, who is the art instructor, and the one on the right was painted by her students. Every bench will include either some kind of floral or but they will also have a watermelon theme to every bench. The next one is painted by Bobby's Paint the Town, Bobby Mullis, downtown. He's also working on a second one, will be, if we get this approved tonight, is going to be sunflowers and a big red rooster and a hen and busted watermelon and hay. And they're very much works of art. And the other one is at 99% completion. We're just waiting to get it sealed. And it's also watermelon themed. But every bench will be downtown. We've had them all repaired, sanded, corrected. They're doing Rust-Oleum on all the metal parts. The benches will be placed in the downtown area with the guidance of Sherry Honeycutt, the Main Street Director, as to where they would be most used and seen. Some of them have been in places that really, Sherry and I talked about it today. She couldn't be here tonight. She has a family emergency. But, you know, she would like them placed, not necessarily back where they were because they weren't in great locations. Sherry and I have spoken about some ideas for them to be better placed, and then possibly moving forward, acquire more benches for the downtown, so we have more places. When you go to other towns, there's a lot of towns doing art benches. It's very popular right now in the small rural areas to try to attract tourism and provide color and art into their downtown area. Once again, we understand the permission was not granted before the start of the project. I apologize for that, but we would like approval to move forward with finishing.
I think you answered my question, but they're going to be sealed?
Yes, they're going to be sealed. It's a heavy-duty sealer, and it will go on. It takes a while. It takes us 5 days because each coat has to dry
Yep.
24 hours, but we are going to put 5 coats on them so that they will be waterproof, and they say it will also help prevent future wood rot on the benches.
We're gonna seal them to the ceiling, hopefully. So people don't steal them.
Let me tell you a little secret from someone who went and got them. They are not light. I'm telling you, it takes 3 people to get those things up into the back of a truck. So they're not, you know, easy to, let's say, abscond with. Unless you're me and I just picked them, I'm just joking. But they are very, very difficult. And like I said, Sherry and I, we have spoken. She has some very good ideas for the Main Street program of where she would like to utilize those to for people both live here and visitors and tourism.
What's the last bench, what is it gonna be painted? You have,
It's very similar to the one by the school. It's blue with watermelons. It's very, I mean, almost,
It's-
it's in the same scheme as the one on the right.
okay,
And I will provide a picture of that to you as soon as
Okay.
she's finished.
So there's 5 total.
There's 5 total. Yes, sir.
So, where's the fourth and the fifth that's outstanding?
Yes. The fourth is currently, we kind of stopped it because it was yeah, it was like at 90%.
I don't want to say if we're going to follow a set of precedents going forward,
Yes, sir.
since we haven't said it yet, obviously. I don't want to say, I sent it to committee, so that's going to be the channel that we want to establish. Let it go to the committee, let them look at it, give approval to both of them, then make a recommendation back to council as to whether we are on, you know, at our next council meeting.
Well, the one is at 90%. I mean, all she has to do is put the little detailing on it. I mean, it's done. Now, the last one that Bobby Moss is going to paint, he has explained the concept to us, but we don't have it. I mean, Bobby paints out of his head, pretty much, but he has told us what the concept will be, and it is very farm, sunflowers, watermelons, chickens.
How often does that beautification
This meeting has.
they have been meeting once a month. They had a meeting last night. It was actually a week premature because of some other obligations. Their next meeting, they're planning on not doing one in July because of Watermelon Festival being that same week and everything else going on. So their next meeting is actually August the 7th.
So they don't have one in June at all?
They just had one last night.
I thought it was just, okay, it's too early.
And our goal is to have these, we'd like to have them out by Juneteenth, is our goal.
I'm just understanding from the perspective of if we're gonna set a precedence on how we're gonna do this.
Right.
Um,
However you want to do it, we will follow that instruction, but we are really kind of on time. I mean, it'll be just minus one bench, we're good with that.
Council,
Unless they have a special meeting, we have.
y'all send it, make sure it's sent it to committee for them to review and approve.
Is that all the benches or the one remaining?
If the one's already at 90%, there's no need to send that to committee.
Right.
I'm just,
Is that design already?
it's already on it, so it's just a matter of just basically finishing and sealing it. Which is my understanding that these have not been sealed yet.
No.
So just for your context, as far as committee, I know the chair of the committee is going to be out with some personal days. That's one of the reasons why they had it early. Another member is out because her husband had some surgery. So we'll be short a couple members. We may or may not get a quorum. It is my concern at this point, based on the conversation I had last night with him.
Well, again, the one is 90%. Go ahead and finish it. But the other one, I say, send it to committee.
The last
And that'd
one,
be the one we did, that last one. And that kind of be our impression of how we're going to handle this going forward.
okay.
Y'all fine with that? Y'all good with that? Okay, well, that, nothing action on it. but-
Okay, thank you.
That being said, we need a motion to, authorize the chamber to finish the fourth bench, and then the fifth bench, send it through to committee, for approval, and route to council for final approval. So I need a motion for that.
Motion.
Got a motion?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Just
Here.
one quick question.
Yeah.
So how many's on that committee? 6 or 7?
I don't know off the top of my head.
One for each one addition.
We have to have at least 4 to have a quorum.
Yep, okay. So it is possible it could be 6 together.
I think there's only 6. I think we don't have one spot, but
You got
I,
four, you should.
You got 40.
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there is a possibility.
Yeah. So I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Next on the agenda is the handicap parking, Mr. Slides.
all right, we've received a request for one of the handicap spots to be relocated, that one being the one in front of the mural. And also, if we were to do that, while we've got the painters in town that do painting, we probably need to add in a couple more. We done a few last year, maybe do a few more this year. Because there's some places that were missed didn't have enough, or didn't have some handicap spots, such as North Pearl Street. That one, I can't make no excuses for it. I don't know why it didn't happen. I know whenever we talked, there was something supposed to go up there, but it just didn't happen, so.
So where is this handicap spot, where is it being moved to?
Currently, my idea was to move it back one spot. I know there's been some conversation on Facebook that it would be moved around the corner, but that has not been discussed with me, but I was planning on putting one around the corner anyhow.
I'll say this about the handicap spot that we have right now. I took and walked Sunday to Holly's with my wife and daughter, oldest daughter. And I had my wife stand in the front corner of the spot that's currently the handicap parking space. And I stood over to the side, and that's the picture that I got. You can see full frame of the entire, you can't see her, but that's the full frame of that's for the public, you can see this. Did another little research about cameras, which everybody's got smartphones now, pretty much. Said that 93% of the phones, 90% of the photos that are taken each day are taken with smartphones. All of them come now equipped with wide-angle lenses. Only 7% come with with actual SLRs or point shoot cameras. Me personally, having mother was handicapped, we got two cousins that were handicapped, one of which used to work with the town. These are important places, they're placeholders in town for a reason. And when you don't have them, it's a problem. The spots on McGregor Street are I think 2 feet wider than normal parking spaces, because we ended up using up, when we did a new traffic pattern through town. That's something that we had done, was made the parking spaces wider and a little bit longer. And at the time, we didn't have any handicap parking spaces. But in my perspective, I think the parking space is fine.
What I'm asking now, why is moving? Why are we moving, or considering moving?
I guess because we just got a request for it.
And why is there a request? I mean,
I guess the visual
visual,
of the,
People taking pictures
Yeah.
in front of the mural, and if there's a van parked there.
I would think the handicap is more than the pictures.
y'all have any questions, comments?
My opinion.
What's
my
that?
point of view, handicap parking is very important. The location of it is very important. You got handicap parking someplace they can't use it, it's useless. And this is a good place for handicap parking, and I think that's a priority.
How many spaces do we have now down?
Originally, we talked about 12, but with some of the hashes, I think it ended up being about 8, is what it ended up being. Now, that's public spots, that's not private spots.
I will say that one of the handicap spots at the park is not in a good position because there is no way to get, it's like right there beside the step. There's no sidewalk to get to where to go down the little ramp area in between the park and the gazebo. I think that one might need to be moved if possible because there's no way, because it's right at the step.
The reason that one was put there is because there was availability to put the hashes out beside it for a van accessible, wheelchair van. Most of those come out on the passenger side, and to be able to come out into those hash marks to get onto the sidewalk.
Okay. I mean,
That's why.
it makes sense to me.
Right.
Because there was no ramp to actually get this right there at the steps.
Right, but that's why that one was put there, because there was room to put the hash marks and it not take up a extra parking spot in the park.
I just didn't think. I was just wondering.
I don't want to make it any more difficult for anybody with a handicap, you know, to be able to do some shopping in that thing. Even if it's just a few feet, you know, they've got enough issues as it is, you know, just trying to do what they need to do.
Well, you need to be able to enforce it, because I have seen people that have not been handicapped parking that parking spot many times, being at the knick-knack show. So, I mean, I know it's gonna be hard to enforce it, but you gotta be able to do something, because not just anybody can go and park there.
Right.
You got about the same thing, you really need Walmart.
I mean, yeah, I know, it's,
Yes.
Yeah.
Post office. Any other questions, comments regarding the handicap request? Move.
So you are gonna add something to First Street?
Yes, if I'm gonna bring, the people in to do the painting, I'm planning on adding a few more.
Personally too, if I was handicapped, I'd rather park on Pearl than I would on McGregor.
My plan was to maybe do 4 on Pearl, 2 on the McGregor end, and maybe 2 down on the Godfrey end.
Maybe we have one near the old town hall.
There was one there in, right in the section that backs up to Cecil's old office, that, which, when Sand Hills takes that, Sand Hills may use that as their, they'll have the option of changing that to, not being a handicap or not using it as a parking spot at all.
I would imagine with the Sand Hills Medical Facility down there, you might want to look at putting one there somewhere out there.
Well, that's what I was saying on the Godfrey end. I was talking about putting one down on that end, of that strip of buildings there.
Any other questions, comments? If there are none, need a motion to, deny the request and leave the handicap parking on McGregor Street as positioned or placed. Another request or? Got a motion, Commissioner Hancock?
Motion to,
Motion to deny the request and leave the handicap spot as for its positions.
second.
Got a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed, like sign. Got one opposed. Next on the agenda is the garden club authorization to operate on town properties. Mr. Schley.
So some questions come up as to whether the garden club has authorization to work in the green space and work on, down in the park with some of their plants and that type of stuff. I'm asking council to, define, yes, that they, if they do have authorization to work there, and, if we need to do this as a yearly thing, then, we can do that as well, but, just need to grant permission for them to, continue to, do what they've been doing, which is, working the flowers and the plants and the fountain and other things in the green space and other parts of town that the garden club has flowers planted and spruces things up.
We don't have an MOU or anything in place.
Not that I know of. Not that I've been able to locate.
Mr. Ford, do you think that'd be a good idea to draft something like that, just so we have it documented?
I think that it would be,
Council thinking.
I think it would be a good idea for council to develop a uniform set of procedures that are utilized for all civic organizations.
So we can tag that on to this. We can grant authorization, but also develop uniform procedures in the same. Any questions, comments from council?
Who would determine that sort of procedure? Who else?
It'd be the will of council. You would usually take advice and consent from administration, and then council would decide, would make the ultimate decision.
Any other questions, comments? Not, I need a motion to, for the garden club authorization to operate on town properties and to develop a uniform set of procedures for all civic organizations.
Mr. Mayor, since I don't see anybody else lining up to do it,
Got a motion.
I'll be glad to say.
Got a
Very
second.
much.
Any further discussion? You're in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Next on the agenda is the Walmart grant accepted. Mr. Sly.
All right, the town, the Chamber of Commerce along with the town requested a grant through Walmart for $5,000. This was done through hunger, it was done as a focus area of hunger relief, but it was for food for the summer movie program, the Movies on McGregor program. We have received a $5,000 check from Walmart for those items, or for that grant that we applied for. And of course, the chamber, because of their status through the IRS, is not eligible to apply on their own behalf according to the Walmart rules that the town applied for.
Any questions, comments from council?
This would be used to fund the Movies on McGregor event or the food for it.
Tim, can you,
We are looking at, once we get this, we are looking at purchasing backpacks and putting take-home snacks for the kids when they leave the movie, so they can bring the backpack back next week and get more, kind of like the take-home snack thing type situations.
I like that idea.
Any other questions, comments from council? Hearing none, need a motion to approve the grant accepted from Walmart in the amount of $5,000.
Motion.
Got a motion? Second, any further discussion? Hearing all in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Next on the agenda is approval to bid HVAC system for farmer's market, Mr. Sly.
all right, it's getting close to the summer months, but we need to, want to go ahead and put out for bid for the HVAC unit in the farmer's market side. We hope to have a, kind of a, not a full opening, but something where people can step in with the doors kind of open during the festival. We hope to be to that point. We're planning to be to that point. Won't be full operational, but by the festival, we plan on having some kind of way for people to just stop in and, just for a few minutes, if there's nothing else but to cool off for a minute or so. So we'd like to go ahead and do a bid for some HVAC units for that side, the old hardware store side, so we can be able to cool that side when we need to, cool and heat that side when we need to.
This is nothing more than an authorization to seek bids. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, need a motion to approve to bid the HVAC system for the farmer's market. This is an authorization for the town administrator. Got a motion, second, Mr. Hancock? Second, Mr. Hancock. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Next on the agenda is the approval, the HVAC FBO. This is the second unit, Mr. Sly.
All right, the FBO has two units because there is an upstairs in the FBO. We replaced the downstairs unit last year. The upstairs unit's bad as well. We still have some ARP funding for the airport that we could use towards replacing it while we still have the money and before we have to give it back or find some other way to use it. I figure we maybe could use it for some good and go ahead and replace that unit, and that way we have two pretty much brand new AC units in the FBO, and that should carry us hopefully till I retire.
We basically replaced everything.
Yeah, we have almost everyone.
So again, this is an authorization to seek bids for this as well, so. Are there any questions regarding this? Hearing none, need a motion to authorize the town administrator to seek bids for the HVAC system at the FBO. This is the second unit. Got a motion? Second, Mr. Baker. Mr. Baker, that was second. Any further discussion? Hearing all in favor, raise your right hand. Next on the agenda is the jet back for public works, Mr. Sly.
All right, Stuart, you want to step forward and talk about this?
Love to.
You want to show the video first and then?
Go ahead and get started if you don't mind.
All right, Jason, if you'll click on the video with the mouse, it'll start the video.
And I'll step over here so y'all can sort of see a little bit why this is important. Take a look at this right here, this orange line. This is your fiber that's underground here. Also, right here is the same thing. There's fiber there. and our water line is running this way. And this is a particular situation here where we had a leaky valve. If you saw right there, he just started, this is a jet vac, he just started digging the hole for this. And this is a Ring-O-Matic, this is through the jet vac company that come in, and we were grateful or thankful enough to be able to have a demo, and that's very unusual in this type of situation for somebody to have one. So he started this, he's gonna come back in with the suction hose here, start sucking, but if you wanna try to fast forward a little bit.
Can you tap forward to about a minute and 15, Jason?
I don't see this.
It don't have a slide on there, okay.
But as they go, you see how this is just like a pressure washer. And as they wash, it's washing dirt away, and this is just vacuuming the dirt out. There's a 550-gallon tank over there that's collecting all the debris. As he's going, this is going further down. If we weren't using this, we'd be using a backhoe. Well, with this particular case here, you got this fiber line here, fiber line there. We could not dig in this direction which way we would need to, because we would hit that fiber, we would hit this fiber. We would have had to come here, cut the pavement out, and still dig that way. The other thing about digging is sometimes equipment is too big. Our equipment is too big in a lot of these cases. This is saturated dirt. As you dig, you ever been to the beach and you did the little drizzle castles? That's what we're dealing with. You shovel it out, it oozes back in. You shovel it out, it oozes back in. This is, and I'll spoil it for you, this is a 6-minute video here. And within 6 minutes, we get to the pipe, we get to the problem that we're trying to get to. If we were digging by hand and digging with a backhoe, it would have well taken us over an hour just to get to where we wanted to get. And that's not uncommon to do that.
You want me to skip on to the
Well,
passage?
no, right here, see what he's doing? He's cutting a little edge, you'll watch it fall in. As it falls in, it sucks it right out. Hold on a second. And it's falling in the hole and sucking right out. Why is this important to me? First of all, it's going to cut your repair down. Probably, I don't have an exact number, easily 75% of repair time. It's going to easily cut that time down to where our guys can be getting the winds up. That's a big issue. And everything else we've got going on. But the other biggest thing for me is safety. You got, the tractor out there digging. We're looking at fiber. We're looking at underground electricity. We're looking at underground gas. And we scoop away, we don't scoop away feet at a time, we scoop away inches at a time, just to keep getting to where we need to get. This right here, you'll see here in just a minute, it just, once it gets to, well, I don't think it shows the fiber, but when it gets to the water line, you just wash the water line off. Who cares? There's no major impact on the infrastructure that's under the ground. And that's why this is important to me.
I'm gonna flip on to the next slide, Stuart, because it shows the pipes on the next slide.
I'll show yours.
And, well, there it goes.
All right, so within 6 minutes, we saw the line. And what we got is we have a saddle right here, and I think, right here is our valve box, and we have a leaking valve right there. So that was exposed within 6 minutes. And that's with an experienced guy operating one, but inexperienced guys operating the vacuum. So, any questions on that? This particular unit, like I said, is a Ring-O-Matic. It has a 550-gallon collection tank and a 200-gallon water tank, and the water tank is for the spraying part of it in the collection. This is probably the biggest unit you can get without going to CDL. If I've said this once, I think I've said it multiple times. I'm staying away from CDL. I want to stay low. We're a small enough town, we can go deliver, take it and dump it, and come right back. So this is an ideal type situation here for us to move forward with. So it's a diesel engine. The life expectancy, I talked to this guy about it, he said, take care of 15, 20 years. I mean, they'll last. There's a lot of different brands out there, of course, but this particular one we were able to use and demo, and it was an eye-opener, I think, for Shane, and it was an eye-opener for the guys using it too. So, any questions?
Now I think y'all are ready for the important part of this. How much is it gonna cost, right? So,
Okay, these can range anywhere from $60,000 And this particular unit was $96,000. $96,000. But if you're going to get one, if we're talking 15 to 20 years, let's get what we need instead of saying, I wish I would have. This is a 1,000 CFM, which that's the suction power of the hose, and that is recommended for what we need, for vacuuming out sewer, manholes, getting any distance that we need, because some of our areas aren't as easily located where you can just get right over it. The more CFMs you have, of course, the quicker it's going to get it out of there for you. It's a bigger tank, a capacity tank, which is, of course, you make less trips and stuff like that. So, but break that down over 20 years, it's like $5,000 a month. I mean, a year, $5,000.
Y'all need the important part now, how we gonna pay for this? So, I'm having a Cecil moment here, so here's what we're gonna do. There is some rural development funds that were left over. We was originally talking about using those rural development funds for putting up a fence out at the South Plan. We want to forego the fence and maybe work that into the budget over the next couple of years and do the fencing portion through that. So, we're asking council to allow us to go back to rural development, request this for, because we're going to request this as maintenance and upkeep of the wastewater treatment plant. We just spent $18 million on it. There's about $70,000 left with them. The remaining money, I would like to maybe do a budget amendment to fund the rest of it. If we were to buy a unit of $96,000, of course, we would have to do the bids like we would anything else. So if something come in a little bit cheaper, then we may be able to do it a little cheaper. But for the majority of the money, I'm requesting that council allow me to go back to rural development and request that remaining $72,000, I think is what's there, from them as maintenance and upkeep of the South Plant. And then we can use it for other things around town as well, but that's what it's being purchased for, is maintenance and upkeep of the South Plant. Cleaning out the manholes out there. If we were to have a sewer line break out there, we could use the one and get down to the lines out there pretty easy and that type of stuff as well.
We can justify the use out
Yep.
there. And I will say, this unit is available. This unit is available. At this current time, just talked to the salesman today. All the other units that I've talked to, they're at least 5 months out. And if this one, and I'm not saying let's rush through it, but I'm just saying this was available. If this one does not become available, it could easily be 3 to 6 months out also.
You've done any research with the other small towns who may own one of these?
I have spoken with quite a few people. South Carolina Rural Water Association, we have a very good relationship with them now since I've been here. They highly recommend it. Even with Dominion Gas, the locator guy that we talked to there, I told him that we were looking at this. He goes, that is great. Because it takes a lot of relief off of them on the safety aspect. But everybody I've talked to about it, and it's been more than 3 people, is yes, you get your return on it. It's worth having one.
Another part of it is, when you call 811, if you got lines in the ground 20, 25, 30, when we did our system, you just hope that line's where they mark it.
Oh, we found lines that aren't there.
Oh, yeah. Or it's deeper or more shallower than what they.
And it's always my concern, again, safety is always my concern. And whenever I call Mr. Jerry with the gas company, the first thing he says, do you smell gas? That's not what he always asks me that. And I went, no, we don't. And I don't want to. So that's why I want you here. So that's a big thing for me, is because since I've been here, I've seen how these guys operate and how much care they take in in taking care of each other. And it's a long process. It's a huge process. That job right there, unfortunately, this situation here is not completed yet because it's something back on our part. We didn't have the correct equipment to put it back together. We couldn't get the flow off of that line, so it's still an open project. But that job right there, with that particular unit, we probably could have gotten done if we had everything. If we were able to turn that line off, we probably easily could have gotten that done within an hour and a half. But with the way we operate now, that would have took us all day.
Do you know anyone have that local now,
I'm sorry?
besides what you
That particular unit, that size unit?
Yes.
I can't remember the town, but I want to think Dillon has one. But if you need me to get some information, I can easily get that for you. I've got connections to know who's got what.
So currently, if we need one, we either call Monroe, Hartsville, or Sherrall. And the last time we called Hartsville, I think it was about $1,400 is what it cost the town for them to drive up here and do some backing out with their truck, their back truck, and
With their $600,000 back truck.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, which I don't want. I don't want. As far as maintenance on these, that's a big deal for me too. Fairly basic. I mean, it's not a huge thing to keep, as long as we keep it maintained as we use it. Change your filters, wash your filters, and do general maintenance on it. It's not a big deal.
another plus to that is the diesel engine in it is small enough that it does not use DEF. Thank goodness.
Correct. Correct.
Sure, what kind of difference would that have made that Friday night when you had the trouble across from town and country? With
That would have knocked that job down from a 10-hour job to probably a 2-hour job, honestly. And that's when I was talking about doing those sandcastles with drizzle. That is exactly what we dealt with up there. That ground was saturated. We dig a shovel out and 3 would come back in. You dig a shovel out and 3 would come back in. You know, that would have tremendously reduced that situation. And here's the other thing. We had a situation behind Mickey's Restaurant where our old buildings are. And so we had a 3/4 inch line that a shed was built off of the back of a existing building there. Well, that's where our water supply was under that shed. So it came out from under that shed, did a 90-degree turn and went up under the building. So that's where the meter was. Well, before we got to the meter, a tree had grown on top of that 3/4 inch 90-inch angle. It took them 2.5 days to fix that 3/4 inch line because roots had grown around it. We couldn't come in and cut. We couldn't come back here and just reroute it because we couldn't go up under the shed and just get our new water supply. That took us 2.5 days to fix that, a little 3/4 inch line. That would have knocked it out in 2 hours, easy, no doubt.
So a quick question on the fence at the south plant. Is this replacing fences there, or would it be new fences?
I'm gonna throw in that, since I've been here, the fence was and still is a big thing for me. But since I've been here, been down there cleaning around that fence, there is a fence, right? I didn't think.
That's what I thought
There is a fence.
Yes, that's what I was asking.
And actually, it's overgrown, so if somebody wants to get in, they gotta fight through briar, so we got better than a fence.
Just
right
anybody
now.
back there.
But we do wanna concentrate on the front area and start armoring that area there.
I'm just
To
asking,
do
because I
that.
wanted to remember there being a fence.
Yeah, we've had some vandalism in the country down there.
Yeah.
You know, so we sure want to have that going on with our new system down there.
That's the top priority for me also.
So, Mr. Sly, for clarity, so basically what you're looking for is a request, approval from us that allows you to go back to RDA, to modify or request to fund this project versus the fencing project.
That's correct.
I'm gonna ask for the rest of the money later.
Well, we can't ask for the rest of the money until we get approval from RD.
Well, above that. Any other questions, comments from council? I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So, what I need from council is a motion to authorize the county administrator to reach out to RDA to modify our existing RDA application, to see if they'll approve the purchase of the jetback versus the fence system that our fence that we've already requested. So I need that in the form of a motion. Got a motion? Got a second. Any further questions? Hearing all in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Next on the agenda is the fire apparatus, which is the funding and type. Mr. Sly.
All right, we've had some conversation about fire apparatus. The first thing is, the fire department has, from what the chief has relayed to me, is they're looking for an aerial. Is that correct, chief? What kind of fire apparatus are you looking for?
It'll be an aerial ladder, yes,
An aerial ladder?
yes.
Are you looking new? Are you looking slightly used? What are you? Because we roughly have about $280,000 in the bank for a fire truck at this current moment.
So, thank you for the opportunity to revisit this. Seems like we revisit it occasionally. And, so the fire department, almost continuously, but for sure frequently, evaluates and reevaluates what our needs have been in fire apparatus as we watch our community grow, consider what the condition of our current equipment's in, what we're going to need to replace in the future, and what apparatus do we need that currently is not in our inventory. And to that end, for about the last 4 years now, we've have had multiple occasions to engage with you guys individually and collectively as a body, and pretty much express two themes. One, we need to continuously update our fleet and as best we can, which is what we've always done, and consider that it's critical infrastructure that we're investing the taxpayers' money in. And historically, we've done that. In the last several years, we haven't purchased a new fire apparatus, as you guys know. Second, our apparatus needs have evolved over time, but not drastically. We've needed an aerial ladder capability in our fire department for 20, 30 years, for sure, perhaps arguably longer. But when purchasing decisions were made and recommendations were made to council, it always seemed that we needed the pumping apparatus, the pumper, if you will, more than we needed something else. So over time, we've come to share with you guys, approximately 4 years, maybe a little longer, that our highest priority right now is an aerial ladder piece of apparatus that will meet some unique needs here in the community. Long overdue needs. So as we evaluate, that's what we need. We've communicated to you guys that we need A, a new pumper, and B, a new ladder truck. And we've always followed that up with the following, even during budget presentations and other opportunities. As best we can tell, we can't afford that, i.e. the town, you guys. Collectively, the fire department, we just can't afford to do both a new pumper and a new aerial ladder. So if we prioritize, the new aerial ladder would be the number one priority. Has been, continues to be. With that, we've experienced an unprecedented exponential increase in all fire equipment costs. And I say we, not just us. It's an industry thing all over the country. Moreover, the cost of aerial fire apparatus were not exempt from that. So it wasn't just the gear we buy, the tools and equipment and personal protective gear that we buy, it's apparatus as well. So as things have gone up inflation-wise, fire apparatus prices have gone up about 2.25 to 2.5 times the annual inflation rate for about the last 30 years. In the last 37 months, they've increased to between 11 and 19 times annual inflationary rates. So let me try to put that in perspective for you. And don't forget the ladder truck, but a more cogent example might be, we talk to our vendors, our salespeople, our
equipment suppliers, other fire chiefs, other communities, keeping a pretty close thumb on what the industry's doing right now. And I'm gonna give you one example. The most recent apparatus we purchased was essentially 14 budget year decisions ago. It's sitting over here, it's a 2010, great fire apparatus, it's in great shape. But all our other stuff is older than that. So the clock's ticking and we need to replace something. So from a pumper standpoint, we sought out some examples of something that is very, very close to what we have over there right now today. Nothing really more, nothing really less. All the same basic appointments as that apparatus, which has served us well and will continue to serve us well. The most recent example, and this would be a slice, a snapshot in time of where we are. The most recent example of closing the sale on a fire apparatus almost identical to what we have, of course it would be new, would be the town of Leland, North Carolina, right outside of Wilmington. Signed a contract about 21 days ago on a brand new one, just like ours. That apparatus came in at $990,990 without any equipment whatsoever in it. Zero equipment. The apparatus we purchased 14 years ago was $331,880.50. So in that period of time, we've seen that exponential cost increase. Here's the scary part. June 1, there was a 5.5% price increase. January 1, there will be a 6% price increase. April 24th, April 20th, April 24th, they hadn't figured it out yet. There will be an industry-wide increase in the engine, the engine prices of fire apparatus. The 2007 emission standards that went in the Obama era, a lot of those are just now rolling into the industry. So with those standards, the new 2027 standards, they're having to retool the factories. The new apparatus price increases on engine packages will be $81,550 come April 24th.
Just for a little bit.
Yeah, that's the increase in the engine price. You heard me correct, $81,500 industry-wide. So what does that mean for us? If we were to purchase a new fire apparatus and we wanted something similar to what we have over here now, you'd have to endure 2 more price increases and to lock a contract in. And if you ordered it after April 24th of 24, it'd be another $81,500. So you're putting the truck in there at about $1.1 million, $1.2 million at this projection. So, that's no equipment. So it's getting more and more and more expensive to purchase. So that same truck, Spartanburg took delivery of one just like it 11 weeks ago, was $884,000. The same truck ordered now, which takes 26 months to get it, is about $1,050,000 to $1,150,000 with no equipment on it. So we're getting priced out of the market. We just are. When the costs are going up $40,000 to $60,000 a year, and then they throw into, it's getting crazy. All right, that was the pumper speech, but that's not what we're after right now. We're after the used aerial because we can't afford a new one. So the new ones are running in at 1.3 to 1.9, the aerial apparatus.
With no equipment.
Yeah, with no equipment on. Exactly. So we've said from the beginning that, based on some pretty thorough analysis, and we treated it like a 3-legged stool, the scenario. If we can find an apparatus and make some necessary refurbishes and repairs and fixing some things on the truck and fully equip it. If we can do that, what would that look like? And we thoroughly evaluated that, the fire department did. What we came up with was, biggest bang for the buck for our taxpayers is, the used ladder is gonna cost approximately what a new pumper costs. And we've run through that scenario 75 times in the last 3 or 4 years. So here we are, as I've explained to Mr. Sly, we've never bought anything used. Well, we did we had a used truck for 3 months back in 79, another story. So, back to the aerial. About $900,000 for a good used aerial would service this community for a 10 to 15, 18-year time horizon. Be fully equipped. It would be what your firefighters need to continue services to the taxpayers. And it would help with our ISO. The ISO implications are huge, and most importantly, it would provide a service that we currently do not have in a timely manner. It would provide equipment here in the community that we need to save lives and reduce property losses when we respond to fires. So we need a used aerial. I've asked Shane many times, I don't know how you're gonna pull this rabbit out of a hat. Right now, we don't even have a hat, right, Shane?
We're working on that.
Yeah, we're working on getting a hat. We don't have a rabbit in it yet, but it's something we need to do. We've never financed anything like that was used that was 900 grand that had 6 tires on it. So, that's essentially what we need. Now, how we get there, we don't know. Today, it's kind of been a waiting game. We're trying to figure it all out. And we don't completely envy the position you're in of trying to figure out how do you juggle all these needs and keep all the balls in the air and not drop a few of them. But, hey, it goes without saying that we appreciate y'all being attentive to the fire department's needs and trying to do any and everything you can, when you can, to fund what we need. Because we have other funded needs. That's not our only funded need. It's just not. So that's kind of where we are at this point, which is essentially exactly where we were 6 months, 18 months, 36 months ago. Is where we are.
So this one aerial apparatus, this gonna be taking care of you for the next probably 10 years. I know you say you need another pumper, but, you know, we all know unless we have another rally, and we're gonna be sticking with one aerial for probably 10 years unless our tax base expands like the way Fort Mills and some of the others have.
Good. So to your point, Mayor, excellent observation there. Time horizons here are important. When you're making $1 million commitments to things, you kind of want to know how it's going to take care of us down the road. We would anticipate a good used aerial in good shape, fully equipped to take care of us much longer than 10 years. Now, this thing is kind of, you can draw some parallels like going out and shopping for a new pickup or SUV or whatever. As you guys know, you could go somewhere and buy something today for $2,500 or $70,000. What kind of reliability and capability do you want in that used vehicle? What's your budget? There's a lot of factors that come into play there. Aerials tend to be maintenance nightmares after 8, 12-year horizon, lots and lots of moving parts on an aerial that aren't on a pumper, so to speak. There's also other competing interests, like in a few years, this shouldn't forestall, but highly likely that it will forestall us purchasing another pumper, which is getting a little overdue. In lieu of, if we buy the aerial, we're gonna have to forego buying a pumper for a while. We don't have any illusions that in a year or two, y'all gonna be able to follow up with a pumper purchase. By the way, it takes 2 years to get one after you order. So that's all a little crazy. If there's any rabbit to be pulled out of a hat here, it's worth mentioning, you guys played literally a pivotal role in establishing some local legislation which allows us to soften the blow to our local taxpayers by financing and paying for infrastructure through our impact fees and new development. Y'all did that, it's in place. We're not raking in the money yet, but as development occurs, funds are gonna flow in, no doubt. And we've done the rough math, 900 grand on a new pumper, for example, a new used aerial, whatever, is 200 and something houses need to be built here. And the fire department share would be realized solely just through that. And we wouldn't have to further burden other areas of the overall general operating budget that way, because there are other funding needs, as I mentioned. We seriously need to add another part-time weekday personnel for staffing. If we put all our eggs in this important basket and there's none left over to do anything else, we're gonna pay a price for that too. We're already paying it, but the price for it will just go up by not attending to some other needs within the fire department, not to mention the police department and everything else. So, just trying to, again, reiterate and lay it all out for you guys. And of course, try to answer any questions or follow-ups that you may have. Shane, did I miss anything big on that one?
No, I don't think so. So as far as funding, there's a couple options that I've been exploring. One of them is, I've talked with a couple local banks. First Palmetto says that they could potentially give us a loan for the money that we would need to purchase one. It would be a 5-year loan with the balloon payment at the end, which would be refinanced for additional 5 years, making it a 10-year loan. That first 5 years would be at 8%, which is astronomical whenever you're buying a fire truck, especially at that price tag. We have some other options, such as going through some of the dealers and seeing what kind of dealer financing is available. Another option that we could also explore would be a GO bond. For those who don't know, that's a general obligation bond that goes against the revenues of the town. We have not had one of those in many years. We would probably get a lower interest rate because if we were to use a GO bond. So those are our finance options that I have currently. I've also talked with First Citizens here in town. Their response was, I can't give you an interest rate. Go figure out what truck you want to buy and bring it back to us and we'll tell you what the interest rate will be on purchasing it. So I don't have, that's not really a finance option for me right at this point. I can't do that. Not the way town's structured as far as being able to purchase things.
Might I add, Mayor, for a moment? You know, we're just around, department heads know this, if they don't, it's a rude awakening coming. Usually the first week of August is when our budget requests for the coming fiscal year are due in Mr. Sly. So it's time to put our budget together. Matter of fact, we've already started, for that matter. And in doing that, trying to figure out our needs for next year, we don't want to sugarcoat or overlook the following. We have approximately $280,000, is my understanding, in the set-aside monies earmarked for fire apparatus purchase. Does that sound accurate, Mr.
Yep.
Sly? That number was $120 last year, and then there was some things done with some ARPA money and stuff, so it's $280. It'll take that and possibly a little more to equip a good used aerial. The equipment is ridiculous in what it costs. And remember, we don't have any on another ladder truck sitting over. This is a specialized piece of equipment, so we don't have anything we can pull off an old truck and throw on there. It would be an outright, we need the 280 to 300 to purchase equipment. So if we're buying about a $900,000 roughly used aerial equipped, you take the 280 to 300, that money's gone if you set it as earmark it for equipment. So the math equation roughly becomes, where can we come up with 600-700 grand? It's about that simple. And the bank will loan us money. It's all back to the terms Mr. Slice referred to. So if we go out and borrow 600-700 grand, I know we just spitballing here for the moment, then you're still, even in the 5 to 7-8% range, you're into my rough math, you're in the $64,000 to $88,000 a year payment minimum. Could be much higher than that if you cut the terms down. If you stretch it out, you're in the $7,000 to $13,000 range per month.
And doing the quick math on that $980,000 over 10 years at 8%, we're looking somewhere about $11,000 a month.
So,
You better be worth the squeeze.
so we're not oblivious to the struggles. This is for you guys. We're not oblivious to the struggles, because we literally try to put ourselves in your shoes occasionally. How in the world how did we pull this off? If I was a council member, and we recognize the following also. If we continue putting $40,000 aside, which we have done for 3 years in a row, if we continue to put that aside in our budget to purchase a fire truck in the future, good effort, but it falls way short of even the annual price increases in the apparatus. So if that 40 is going to be folded into the payment number that Mr. Slide just mentioned, that 40 that's already been in the fire department's budget for fire apparatus, there's some competing needs within our own budget for that 40 and some more. So we're, example, we are 19 months out from our last ISO inspection visit. And in about 20 more months, roughly, they're going to show back up. And last time they came, we lost points because we didn't have an aerial.
Well, we make up some of those points because of mutual aid, because our two other fire departments that help, that we have mutual aid with, they have aerials, so we can make those points up. That's what you and I said.
We can't, on the aerial, we hit a home run on the manpower there. Home run. It would be a sad song and a slow walk if Sand Hill and High Point couldn't help us manpower wise. It'd be disastrous. But because they're so far away, you know, your response road miles need to be about 2.5 max for an aerial, or you don't get credit for having one. You get credit for the manpower they bring, but as a practical,
Keep their running too.
yes, of course, theirs is out of service for 4.5 months because,
But that's what Sherrall had to issue. They bought brand new ones, and poultry business caught on fire and burned up because the area was in service.
yes. So I guess the conversation to be continued, but I'll thumbnail to say this. If we look at where we scored last time and where we're likely to score coming up on our next community fire defense system rating, because all they do essentially is come and look at what is Pageland's investment in fire defense in their community. Oh, well, instead of guessing at things, we've got a 100-page booklet here to fill out. It's a formula. And it's a known thing. There's no secrets in there. So if we look at, we've annexed hundreds of acres of residential property. If anybody builds a home on either one of them, they're going to see that our community's growing and we're deficient in road miles traveled, i.e. our distribution points go down, jeopardize our rating, et cetera, et cetera. What you have to do is ask yourself, wherever we're losing points, is there somewhere else in the schedule that's more cost effective to recapture some points? to offset what we're losing. It becomes an offset gain then. And in doing that, we bought all, y'all, not us, we bought it, but through y'all, we bought all the loose equipment over the years. We can't get on the phone and call a salesman, except for a few minor items. We can't call them and make up those points. You make it up in personnel, and that's pretty much it now. They'll want to see how many people do you have on duty. Well, the same amount we had on duty August of '21. Oh, okay. Did you get you an aerial? Well, you know, so there's a scenario out there where we can get our aerial eventually, and potentially it be paid for through impact fees. And then some of the funds we're putting now into saving up for our next apparatus purchase can be utilized in our current budget to gain some points in other areas in this schedule. And as a practical matter, practically double our manpower that's on duty in the times where we're most susceptible to not having anybody to respond. It's a big ball of wax. We appreciate y'all being attentive to staying tuned in to what our needs are.
We can reach out to the treasurer's office to see if they'll assist us with some seeking financing, see if they'll help us with used equipment.
And tell me again why there's not grant money out there, please?
Sherrod just got one.
I know, there's all the time in here, and I don't understand how towns smaller than us can afford.
So there's a thing called LMI in a lot of communities. That's low to moderate income, and because the housing cost of Pageland has risen so much, we are mostly non-LMI anymore. We have lost that status as of about 2021. And so therefore, we're not eligible for CDBG, not CDBG.
Didn't prosperous is bad.
And Shane, to your point there from Ms. Mangum, Chirall proper, the $550,000 they got last year was essentially the same as the Cache Rural District. Sand Hill Volunteer Fire got some money, but those were largely rural areas and not small incorporated municipalities. In other words, Chirall got that grant funding for a truck for their outside rural response area, not in the city.
And we don't have that?
We have a small pocket of town that is low to moderate income. You, to do it, to do it, you would have to say, this truck is the first out to that low to moderate income area, and then you'd have to go door to door and do a survey on every single resident in the low to moderate area to find out what their actual income is to see if it truly qualifies for that.
And it would have to be a building in that area to service.
Yep.
So you couldn't say, I'm
I
gonna park
remember
that
that,
here.
yeah, we have to
Yes.
build a.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have a building. And, by the way, the survey Mr. Slides referred to, that area that you survey, if you don't get to pick what you survey, they send you a list of what you survey. Those addresses would have to exceed, would have to be equal to or greater than 51% of all of that area. So it can't be, okay, yeah, we got a lot of poor folks live over here, we qualify. No, that won't cut it.
Now, that don't mean we're not gonna still look for some grants.
Yeah.
But the major grant that most are getting for fire engines is CDBG.
So I guess the short of it, you can continue looking for some additional funding.
Yes, I am, but on that same token, I
Make a lot of chicken.
I would like to reach out to maybe the bond attorney and get some ideas of what the process is on, and what kind of rates we could look at potentially doing a GO bond, and, because that should be our most cost effective, as far as, doing some kind of leverage.
The reason why I said about the treasurer's office when I go, when I was Department of Admin, we bought about $4 or $5 million worth of vehicles that they leased out to agencies. and they would actually seek the financing for us. They do it. And most times with Bank of America, we were the ones who would come in way under everybody else.
And I've recently found out BB&T no longer does any government funding.
Yeah. And we did the same thing on probation. We did our
Yeah.
body cam stuff was all purchased through, that was nothing through Axon, but, there were two other things that we bought through the treasurer's office. They may be a good source to help us with this.
So last thing, guys, the conversation continues, and we thank y'all for at least being on the back burner, if not the front, and it's got your attention, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
There's no other action to take as far as this for information purposes, correct?
As far as I know for now, there's nothing else.
Any other questions regarding item 12? If there not, we'll move on to item 13, which is generator funding approval, and this is Mr. Schley.
All right, the generator for the community center has finally arrived in Columbia, and it's on its way here. This has been we bid this thing, I think, June of last year. I think y'all accepted the bids June of last year, so it's finally showed up. In fact, we got a little scare here about a little over a month ago. The emergency management called and said, hey, your grant's out of date. We had to send in for an extension. Don't do anything else till you hear back from us. Luckily, we got that approval back and they're moving forward. So on the generator, we got most of the funding from emergency management through FEMA, or got it from FEMA through emergency management. I know there's $8,000 that it's going to cost to run the gas, because they got the board of parking lot to get the gas over there. I know we're going to have to pay for that. And then any additional that the generator cost, I don't have those numbers in front of me. Time got away from me and I didn't fully get the full numbers on that, which we'll have some time on billing anyway, because we'll have to draw down funds from emergency management before payout. But there is some additional funds, and I think we talked about those last year that we were still going to have to come out of pocket. I think it was, best I remember, was about $20,000. It may have been closer to 25. I don't have that number exactly in front of me, but we are going to have to come out of that for the generator, which the generator is about $100,000 generator. So at this time, the only thing that I would ask is for the approval for running the gas line, and then the rest of it I'll bring it to you, which it's within my spending purview, but I'd still rather go ahead and get your permission to do it up to $9,000. If it goes over that, then we'll talk about it.
Just for gas, running gas, right?
Yep.
Any questions, comments from council? That's a not to exceed, correct?
Yeah, not exceed 9,000. If it does, then I'll come back to council with it.
Ask one more time, any questions, comments regarding this request? If there are none, I need a motion to approve, approve the town administrator to run the gas for the generator, and that not to exceed $9,000.
I'll make it.
We got a motion? Second, any further discussion? You know, in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Next on the agenda is the sheriff's office camp funding. Mr. Sly?
All right, the sheriff's office sent us a letter. I actually found it on my desk Monday morning, so that's why it's an amended item on here. They're planning on starting a school resource officer summer camp beginning July 10th through July 13th. And the purpose of the camp is to build bridges between the youth in our area and local law enforcement through safety education, recreation programs, outdoor experiences, group ventures, guest speakers, and loads of other fun activities. They're asking for some form of funding, is what they've requested of us. It says we're asking for sponsorship and donation of any kind to assist funding this camp. The program will serve breakfast and lunch and provide refreshments to over 100 youth campers. and volunteers during the 4-day event. It does not say. It does not say. I don't know.
And so where to get the campus from?
What it is the school resource officers are going to put on the camp.
Who can go? I mean, anybody?
I have no idea.
Would have to be students, right?
Yeah, I would assume students, based on the way this is written.
They're all from Sherrard.
It's online to sign up.
Oh, you know what I'm saying?
It's on their Facebook page.
Sounds like a good idea, but, sure don't need to.
They don't even suggest an amount for anything.
Ages 9 to 14, limited to the first 100 who register. It will be no charge. They're going to provide lunch daily. It will be conducted at Copeland Park, which is in Chesterfield, from 9 to 1 daily. Does not.
Yes, Mr. Sly,
So
what do you suggest?
if we're gonna, we could probably do 500, maybe out of the community civic line item in the budget. There's a little money in there. It's not a whole lot, but there's a little.
You might have a problem with that. And I will say this, the sheriff does, at least his wife pays attention to her after the agenda, because he called me and said, I heard I'm on the agenda, see, what am I on there for? So, it was his wife that told him.
I would just like to make sure that some Paisley children get the opportunity.
Yes.
Because transportation is a problem a lot of times for
Right.
at-risk kids in our area. So maybe.
Maybe make a phone call.
Sheriff's Department car, or so, you know, just provide some transportation. Not in the back. Not in the back of the car. So van or something.
Get the PDRTA to come pick them up.
Yeah, PD or TA.
That's what he said, he said
And
something.
pick them up.
Yeah. Well, and one part of their conversation was events and festivals that they could assist in those, yeah.
We'll work on the donation part now, and it's something we can ask, that we can put out to, you know.
I just want to make sure, we've had troubles here lately, and I just would like that relationship with law enforcement to be there.
I think it's something we can reach out to Sheriff about, or Larry, and see if they can help us facilitate that.
Right.
Is everybody good with that now? Y'all good with that? Okay. If that's the case, then we'll go ahead, I need a motion to authorize the county administrator to fund the request for the Chesterfield County Sheriff's Office for the camp funding request in the amount of $500.
And ask for some clarity as to how and who.
He read some of that off, Mr. Ford read some of that off a while ago that you were asking.
And the most at risk, how they get there?
I think that's something we're gonna have to add, we'll have to address that with the sheriff and Larry.
Larry's the supervisor for the SRO program,
Yeah.
so he would have all of that information.
I guess we can,
And this is only 3 days. This is July 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th, or 4 days. 4 days, yeah. So it's only 1 week.
I just know transportation's an issue
Yeah,
for
yeah.
kids that would be interested.
And how many kids there?
Up to 100 is what the letter says. Well, it says over 100, but I think the advertisement says up to 100.
The letter says 100.
Limited to the first 100 to register, is what the flyer on the Facebook page says.
Registration open now.
It's on their Facebook page, so I'm presuming yes.
Any other questions? So I'm, one more time, get a motion to approve the request for the sheriff's office camping fund in the amount of, and we'll propose $500. Got a motion?
Second.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Next on the agenda is the engineering change for future projects. Mr. Sly.
Next round of RIA funds is coming up. It should open up July 1st. I'm asking that we switch to an engineer for doing these projects who has helped us with several projects around town. They currently help us with looking at the new development, water and sewer projects. So I'm requesting that we move from Callahan and Associates to Callahan Brothers. So we're moving from Nikki Callahan to Myron Callahan is who I'm requesting that we move to.
And our engineer, she's down in the West Country, that she helps with.
That would, Janet McSwain, she would still be on board. We're not changing that one. This one is the one that we do use for projects through RIA and like the SKIP grant and that type of thing.
Any exact reason for the change?
Well, there's a couple. There was the very last project that we'd done come over budget by $25,000, if y'all recently remember. That's one, and I'd asked about contingency beforehand, and
And they were approved before it came to us.
right.
Which is
That would be one of the main reasons.
Any questions, comments? If not, I need a motion to approve engineering change to Callahan Brothers for all of our future RA associated projects. Got a motion?
Second.
Got a second. Any further discussion? Here now, raise your right hand. Next on the agenda is the administrative report. Mr. Sly.
Mayor, I think you wanted to do the valedictorian and salutatorians for the high schools. You got a copy of that?
Yes, I'm sorry, yes. Yeah, we'll be not recognizing them, we normally do it in council meetings, but because of the way the graduation was held, so we'll just be sending out certificates to Madison Champaign, the valedictorian at Central, Priya Patel, salutatorian, and then Emma Nicholson, valedictorian, and Olivia Newton was a salutatorian at South Point. And
What was the Nicholson? I thought it was Neville.
I have on here in the paper at Emma Nicholson, that may be her full name.
Might be her first name.
Yeah.
I think her middle name is
She
Natalie.
goes by Natalie.
Yeah.
But we'll do it for Natalie Nicholson. She was valedictorian, of course, Olivia Newton was the salutatorian, so we'll be doing certificates that we've done in the past. They won't have them presented here, exactly. Mr. Lau?
All right, the financial statements have been provided, also a copy of the final reports up here as normal. We received a letter from South Carolina Revenue and Fiscal Affairs that the town may increase the millage by up to 8.61% this year. That's based off of population and a few other factors that I don't know the true formula of that, but well, we did receive that letter here recently. The town's going to have a fly-in take place on June 17th at the airport from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Ask everyone to come out and support that if you can. If you're not sure what a fly-in is, it's similar to a car show, but with airplanes. So come join us, and we plan to be out there for that. And Sherry and Ms. Melton have been working to get that together. The airport committee will meet later this week to finalize things and be ready for that. The Juneteenth will also take place on June 17th from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Public Works has been working to be a little more efficient on their trash route. They'll be putting out some changes for a few residents in town on their their pickup day, there'll be a few that they'll be changing. They're gonna put up some door hangers and, for all the residents that they'll be changing and also running double routes those weeks and trying to make sure that they're aware of that. What they're trying to do is they're trying to be a little more cost effective and be a little more, where they can, efficient with their trash routes. So, they'll be making a few changes. It won't be a whole lot, it'll just be a few changes that make a little more sense instead of running across town type of deal. We received a letter from Waste Connections that the cost of waste disposal will be increasing as of July the 1st. Sludge disposal will increase $3.52 per ton, and trash will increase $2.18 per ton. And reminder that next month's meeting will be on July 11th for us to observe Independence Day. And that's all I have.
Any questions, comments from council? If there are none, now I'll move on to the next item, executive session. We have executive session scheduled for 2 items listed. One's personnel, other is legal advice relates to contractual agreements. I need a motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second, any further discussion? You want to please raise your right hand. We'll do about 2-minute recess and then we'll go into our executive session.
I'm not, I know